everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Collection Comic of the Week. We are continuing with this month being one whole Spider-Man arc, and we are now looking at part 2 of that arc, and it is Amazing Spider-Man Volume 2, number 29, and origin story of this book is the exact same as last week. Got back into comics, was at Kroger, found this issue, found that it was the continuation of the other Spider-Man book that was on the shelf, and that the conclusion and eventual conclusion was in the other Spider-Man book that they had on the shelves. So, yes, picked this one up in the hopes of getting the entire arc, and come to find out I was getting most of the arc. But we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. Let's check out this book. If you recall last week, the last issue left Mary Jane a very sad and frightened state, and very looking for Peter. So just the cover, while it's kind of a very basic cover, it really does a phenomenal job, in my opinion, of conveying that state that Mary Jane was in at the conclusion of the previous book. So well done, at least using the cover to kind of give the synopsis and continue the story in that sense. Little Peter thinking of Mary Jane. Kind of his inner monologue. This was the first... I mentioned that this was kind of when I picked back up into buying comic books again from my younger days, and I noticed when reading this that inner monologue is done significantly more this way than the thought bubbles. So I guess that was just kind of a change, an unspoken change that just sort of happened. I can't really pinpoint it or tell you when, where, and why, but it's just kind of happened. The more the narration, inner monologue are just done this way. And we now are introduced to the antagonist of this story arc. And he needs to be... says he needs peace, and he needs, something to do with Peter and Spider-Man. We continue. He's looking for Mary Jane, and tobacco is wacko if you're a teen. Remember those always... advertised, like the slam of the week on WWF television. So kind of a neat blast from the past there. Got more trauma from our antagonist. And there's Mary Jane talking back to him, saying she's hungry. In pretty much her jail cell here. Yeah, she's it's kind of creepy. This was, again, kind of where I realized, this was not, as in-depth as the Spider-Man cartoon that I watched and the Spider-Man comic books that I collected earlier in life. Definitely a more mature subject matter, maybe not fully able to grasp what exactly it was at age 11, 12, whatever I was here, but, it's some Joe, Q-Verse World Cartooning. That's kind of cool advertisement. Wish they'd have more of those. They have some in some comics, but not really a lot nowadays. Yeah, but I could tell this was just a lot deeper. This story, with me kind of growing up, resonated a lot differently to me than before. And still have the Atlas Man advertisements, even with the even here in 2001. 2001, so I'd be 11. 11 or 30, it's early 2001, so I'd be 11 at this point. Just dawned on me. Kind of explaining what's going on with the antagonist. just kind of hearing all the voices, and taking pills, and I'm like, even there, I'm like seeing like the pills. I'm like, uh-oh. I mean, I know I was getting older, but I don't know how my family would have felt about me having this. Maybe he hears the voices, sees Spider-Man, and the My Anti-Drug. That's kind of cool. Another old school. Don't see that as much anymore. Going over the origin of Spider-Man again. Saying that feels that he was Peter, so that's why he needs to have Mary Jane. Mutant X action figures. Hey now. Hey now. Hey now. I might have to track these down. Kind of more of his flashback, Mary Jane tells him that this is a sick bastard here, and saw a plane crash, killed everybody just to get to Mary Jane. It's kind of also catching me up a little bit about, like, Peter getting married, them getting separated. Peter finds his way in. Beautiful moment there, but then it's all cut off. And he says it there. Spider Sense has been shut off. I need it all. I need his life to be continued in Peter Parker number 29. And kind of similar last time, only with cheese nips. And that is Amazing Spider-Man Volume 2, Issue 29. So, yeah, that was part 2 of this story. And, yeah, it's a well-paced, well-told story, in my opinion, so far. And, again, I'm definitely not fully matured, and not like there's still a lot of themes that I had yet to really experience or discover, but I knew this was an older sort of comic book, and as I was growing up, I knew this was something that these kind of things were things I could get behind. These themes may not always necessarily all the romance, but like the deeper sort of stuff, like, I was starting to be closer to relating to that than I was, comic books from earlier in my life. So it was definitely something that really had me invested. And, well, I did get the conclusion of this story arc, and we'll be talking about that soon enough. But the next part, I never got. They did not have Peter Parker, Spider-Man, number 29 at that particular Kroger. So for many years, I just kind of read parts 1, 2, 4. So kind of don't really know what happened in the interim until the magic of the internet. So next week is part 3 that I did not get at Kroger, but we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. But do you also own that particular book? Let me know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share, subscribe for more content, not just from the world of comic books, but from the world of pro wrestling, gaming, anime, and all things geek culture. Follow me on my social media pages, facebook.com/athleticgeek89, Twitter @athletic_geek89, Instagram @athleticgeek89, and if you'd like to help improve this channel financially, I am on Patreon, patreon.com/athleticgeek89. Other than that, I'm out. Y'all be cool. Later.